Grant Dania now.
It's Grant Dania.
The gold logie this year. Oh my God, it's Grant Dania.
And our mum, Shazzy Dania. She's really crazy.
And George,
Affectionately known
as Large Sarge.
It's all true.
It's All True, the podcast with Grant and Shazzy Denya.
and
George.
I feel like every week we need to have and Grant if he's here or if he isn't.
Well, I'm here today.
And I'm sitting
Loving it.
a lot closer to the screen and the microphone, so I look like I'm a bigger
Why don't you
person.
slide on back a little bit? You can come closer to me too, because we're just trying to frame in our sign, our neon sign behind us.
It's all very technical.
Isn't that a beautiful neon sign? Can anybody purchase an It's All True sign, or is it specific to this podcast?
Nah, it's one of one. It's a collector's item. Yeah, it might go on eBay one day when we first reach platinum. I don't know.
I think we've already reached platinum. What is platinum? How many do you have to have for platinum?
In the music industry, I'm not sure. It's not as many as you think. I don't know. It's like 100,000 or something.
Oh, we're there.
It would be.
Hey.
I had
We're
somebody
platinum.
reach out and say that we should do merchandise for this podcast. What kind of merch would we actually branch out into? Coffee cups, jumpers?
Some of those undies that has like an elephant and an elephant's trunk on it, and you know what I mean. So you can, if it's a lucky elephant, if the elephant's trunk is up. Yeah.
Have you ever
That's actually
owned
so
a pair of undies
wrong.
like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
My
think we
trunk wasn't
did.
long enough.
It didn't reach the end.
No,
Yeah,
it
you
didn't.
We'll get a mouse one for you, and you can just like fill his nose.
Perfect.
You were you were given something like that. Remember when you were working for radio? It was you had to have a Christmas present, and
Yeah,
your old
that's right.
radio boss, Jace Allen, who I think's now your boss or
One of my
isn't he?
bosses,
George?
the great Jace.
Yeah, he gave you one of those types of undies and some other stuff, and the kids found it.
Yeah, and that was an awkward conversation to have with your children.
Especially when they put my lipsticks into the undies and were like, wee, look at me, I'm dad.
Yeah,
Weird, isn't it?
it was weird,
Yeah.
but funny though.
He's funny. Yep. Okay. We've got
Is
some
there much
reviews,
GD
George.
can divulge on not being here last week? Like, there was a great interview with Garth Tander. Absolutely loved that. Everybody enjoyed it. Are you recording a podcast with him? Are you ditching us for GT?
Yes, it's called
GT and GD.
It's all true! ! Rather than it's all true ? It's going to take off. No, I was just filming a TV commercial with a bunch of V8 supercar guys, and yeah, can't say too much about it just yet because it's Secret Squirrel. But keep an eye out for it in a couple of months. And GT was there, so I just thought I'd ask him a couple of questions because I couldn't quite make it here to the podcast record, and I hope you enjoyed it.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was the best 5 minutes of the podcast. It was the best part of the podcast.
He was literally standing there. We were hanging shit on each other anyway, so I was like, why don't we just record this and send it to you guys?
So you, I don't know if everybody knows this, but you grew up, I can't speak today. You grew up racing with most of these people, Garth and Will Davison and all of the supercar people now. So is it weird that they've all gone on to go racing and you haven't gone on to other, well, because I may have said it last week or I'm not quite sure, but you could have, but you chose TV.
Yeah, I was at a crossroads where I had to commit to one or the other fully because I was doing them both and doing them both well, but probably not to their full potential. So I had to probably I did make a hard decision and commit to one and give it my everything, and I chose television. But so, yeah, all those guys I was racing against, have gone on to race and win. Like Scotty McLaughlin, who's a multiple supercar champion and now an IndyCar driver, race-winning IndyCar driver in the US. So he just came into the series just as I was winning races. So he was at the back of the field and I was at the front. And then I gave it away. And then, all those guys sort of came through and grew up and went on to be success stories. And here I am making a podcast with you two turds.
Can I please suggest something? Maybe a pitch.
Yeah. What?
Deal or No Deal V8 edition. You were giving out money. You were opening cases live from a V8 supercar.
That's a great idea. Maybe we just have these giant cases and you got to crash your supercar through the case to reveal what's inside.
That sounds
Let's
very
do it.
expensive.
It's like a Japanese game show. That sounds fun.
Can you go on to be, because indie drivers, is that where they just go round and round and round and round?
Not
Just 1
always.
second?
It's like the American version of Formula One. But they do a lot of ovals.
Right. Is there a lot of skill involved in just driving round and round and round?
Yeah, it's not how we grew up racing, but yeah, it's a different craft, a different skill, requires, a different approach.
Does that just get boring? Do you think if you were racing
It's
it?
not for everyone. It's just how America grew up. So, NASCAR, is their biggest form of motorsport there, and that came out of the Prohibition era. So when NASCAR was originally just all the moonshine runners who were illegally, running moonshine around all the counties and states, they hotted up their cars so they could outrun the cops. And so
Right.
once a year, they'd all get together, all these moonshine runners at Daytona Beach, and they'd all go, oh, well, we've all got these cool cars. How about we just race? And that was the beginning and the foundations of what NASCAR is today. The exact same organization, the same event. It came from illegal moonshine running.
That's so cool. I did not know that. Why?
So that's why it's kind of born that way. And they were just running around on like an oval, because Speedway was a thing, I guess. And now they did like a car version of Speedway. And then that's why they have so many ovals in America and NASCAR's done on circles. It's just because that's how the sport began.
It'd be cool if it was like greyhounds. So you know that you have to chase the rabbit. You just have like a fake police thing come out of the gates and it
you
just
got to
chases
beat
you.
him, and he just keeps nabbing like the last person.
Yeah, that's
gets nabbed.
yeah.
That'd be interesting. And you got to get out, and then you got to arrest them. You got to get them on the ground and cuff them.
Oh, like cops.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Do you, I remember.
Although they're pretty trigger happy in America, they seem to shoot.
Do you know what? And if you get caught and you're last, you get shot just in the foot.
Yeah. So you're still alive. You can still race again once the wound heals.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a real shot in the
Yeah.
leg, like below the knee.
Yeah. But I've never been shot, but I can imagine that would still be quite painful.
Yeah,
I haven't been
imagine
shot
so.
either. Yeah. Have you,
I
JD?
reckon I could outrun. Most cars.
I play a
if
lot
I
of
was-
Call of Duty, and it looks like it hurts when you shoot people in the
What's
leg.
Call of Duty?
Yeah, it's just a game. You shoot a lot of
COD.
people.
The kids call it COD.
Yeah, they do call it COD.
Do they?
Yeah.
Right. How come there hasn't been a Hollywood movie made?
Well, once
about...
there was a race going on once where someone was shot while they were driving. His name was JFK.
Yeah.
So,
Famous
right.
story. Yeah.
Was he running moonshine?
yeah, he was having a little race through Dallas in Texas, and Lee Harvey Oswald shot at him, and so that's kind of what it would look like if you did that in NASCAR.
Yeah, right. Because I was thinking maybe you could do NASCAR.
Yeah, well, we got who's over there now? Shane Van Gisbergen. He's a multiple Australian supercar driver who's now over there. He's won a couple of races in.
Because I would
NASCAR.
imagine not putting down our American friends, because there's a lot more of them than there are of us, but I would imagine that it would take a considerable amount of, I don't know how to get out of this without offending people, so I'm just going to throw it out there.
Just say it.
I would think it would be a lot harder to drive on Australian circuits that go up, steep, round corners. You've got bends, you've got sharp turns, like say Mount Panorama, for instance. That would take a hell of a lot more skill and
Than just
adaptability.
turning left.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a completely different kind of way of racing, and it's like a big game of chess sort of in NASCAR because you've got to use drafting and slipstreaming, and you got to work with dudes around you, and it's our circuits are pretty gnarly.
I've heard Americans endorse that statement, Chezzy. Like, this
Do
is
they?
the toughest in the world.
A lot of Europeans come over and drive our track and go, wow, this is the best in the world.
But then European tracks are very different because they're quite hilly, and say Nürburgring, which you raced at, was challenging.
That's a big track.
While we are talking about,
Yeah,
potentially
why are we talking about cars?
I don't know.
offending people, the cube conversation continues for this podcast, the Rubik's Cube. I know you wanted to briefly have a yarn to somebody who can solve a Rubik's Cube. Carly is willing to come in for about 4 or 5 minutes just to demonstrate
great.
how to solve a Rubik's Cube. Now, the past week
this is
she's
good
been
for
doing
everyone.
it
So it's got
in a minute and a half.
Yep.
So Carly
Yo,
is coming.
this is good for everyone
Okay,
watching
while
on
she's-
YouTube because you can see someone do it in
While
the
she's
flesh.
coming in, we've got a couple of reviews. We'll just quickly.
Oh, hang
Oh
on.
no, we've lost.
I'm going to
George.
give her the
Here we go.
headphones and the chair. She's
Yeah.
Okay,
all yours.
all right.
Pass it over.
Hello.
Yo, Carly.
How
are you, mate?
Carly, we are very sorry for Grant offending you.
Me?
Yeah.
I wasn't even on that podcast when you offended everyone who's a Cuba.
So what I want to know is, when did you first know that you were a Rubik's Cube whiz?
Genius.
What? Gosh. I used to nanny, and one of the kids had autism, and his thing was Rubik's Cubes. So I was like,
Right.
I'll learn it so I can connect with him. So probably.
See, I can't. I can't do it, and I hate it, and it
Same.
frustrates me, and I feel dumb because I can't do it.
Yeah.
But is there? Am I thinking about it wrong? Is there billions of combinations, or is there a hack to just get it done?
You
Like,
can solve
Am I
it.
overthinking it?
Yeah, I followed a YouTube tutorial. That's how I learnt.
Really?
Really?
But
Yeah.
how quickly? How long did it take you to
Oh.
learn this?
A while. Like probably like a full day of like actually sitting down and figuring it out. But once you know
So-
it, it's all like just patterns.
So if I just messed it up, if I spent like 30 seconds just twisting and twisting and turning, you would like George is now. You can get it out of any scenario.
Yeah.
Do you have to watch him do it to know how to undo it? Wow.
But hang-
Okay.
That doesn't even look like a real Rubik's Cube, does it? I thought they had colour.
Yeah, the colours are on the outside,
like
not
a
on the
flash
bits in the middle.
I got a fancy schmancy one. I actually
Right.
won
Okay.
this one for free at one of those like pop-up shops because I told the fella like, if I can do this in under 3 minutes, can I have it for free?
Give me one.
He was like, yeah,
Oh
sure.
my God.
Okay, George has got the clock.
Do
So
we have to time it? Because I feel like
George-
stuff
So
it up.
far, we've been doing a minute and a half, like under that, which I think
Okay.
is pretty good.
I
Do
think
you know what?
amazing.
Even
2 minutes.
do you know what?
here we go.
Even
on your
10
marks,
minutes.
get set, go. Start the clock. Excellent. Here she goes.
But we need a clock sound
She's
effect.
got some twisting and turning. No, we don't need that from you. Thank you. You're not a horse. Yeah, she's on it. We're past the 10-second mark now.
Oh gosh, don't tell me.
Okay, I won't read the time out to you. Me talking to you, is
I
that
don't
going to
even know
distract
what
you?
I'm watching here. There's a whole lot of spinning and
It's like, I think I explained this before. It's like
What's the first
watching
level?
magic and then not being able to know how it's done. Yet you know it's simple,
do you know
but yet it's not.
I've watched so many tutorials for hair braiding.
Oh my gosh,
and
you
I
can
still
turn
can't.
two things at once. Look at that.
That's the second level done.
I didn't realize. See, I thought you couldn't do it level by level without it moving on to the next level would affect the level you just done.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, she's.
So nervous.
Don't. There's only a million people watching.
We've just gone platinum, we've realised. Even
Hey!
under 10
Oh!
A minute 10!
A minute 10!
It's not
That's
my best.
nuts.
Not my best.
Not your best.
No, I think the quickest I've ever done it is like 57 seconds. So
You weren't far off that, man.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Oh my
And
God.
you had us also distracting you.
thank you. The kid who I used to like look after, 7 seconds his PB was.
What?
How is that
He
even
had, like-
possible?
He has like this like mat, and he'd like cover it, and then you'd lift it up, and he'd just go boom, 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 and then hit the mat.
Wow.
7 seconds was his PB. He used to do it like every spare second he had. It was like his thing to do.
So how much twisting and turning do you have to give it to make it fair? Like, because surely if you've cured it in 7 seconds, surely you've only given it 1 or 2 turns.
Well, I don't know because I know they do like competitions, with, like kids and stuff, and I think they do like specific moves. So then every single one is the same
Equal.
cube. So then they're obviously all doing the same stuff. But
I feel like everyone who's getting a Guinness World Record these days has like autism or something. You know what I mean? They just have this ability to either focus more than the rest of us, or retain more information than the rest of us, or
They
learn
just think
faster
differently.
than the rest of us.
It's like
a superpower.
It's like what I was saying to you about people with ADHD being able to connect to different realms.
Oh, yeah. And also people with ADHD also getting a lot of speeding fines. That's also a problem that we have.
Well, I told you I should be in NASCAR. Especially you told me that my left wheel.
Carly, that was amazing.
I'm still
We're in awe.
I'm like, so where do you wheel this trick out? Like, do you obviously you got a free Rubik's Cube.
You've had a few Midoris. Is that when you get it out? You're like, yeah, watch this, guys.
Yeah.
I was at I was looking after like other kids at like a CrossFit crash, and one of the kids came with it, and he was like, "Can you solve it?" And I did it, and all the mums were just like, when I finished it, mums were just like staring at me, being like, "What the hell? How the hell can you do
Yeah.
that?" So yeah, it impresses a few.
So
You should busk on a street corner and make
I was
money.
just about to say you have to shark it. You know, you have to go into a bar and you have to be like, oh, no, poor me, I can't solve this Rubik's Cube. I'll bet you $100 you can do it faster than me.
Yeah, you could get free drinks everywhere.
Yeah, I could do something good with it.
Look, she's just like, yeah, whatever, that's easy. I do that already.
Yeah, she's already looking down on us like the idiots that we are.
Yeah. Do you feel that there's people who can do Rubik's Cubes and then there's the people that can't, and there's kind of like a hierarchy in life at all?
I think if you sit down and actually learn like the pattern, then anyone can do it. But like there's like different patterns. So the kid who could do it in 7 seconds, he's learned different ways. Like the one I did was like the basic how to solve it. But then the more you get into it, like there's different algorithms that you can use to solve it quicker. But
You lost Chezzy at sit down and learn. That's when
What?
she,
What? You have to see it. Yeah.
And learn.
No,
Study.
I keep thinking, my girls keep saying to me, Mom, why can't you learn how to braid hair? And I sat down I
I've got
watched
3 girls.
I watched 3 tutorials on YouTube and my eyes went cross-eyed.
You've
and I was
got
like,
hair. You are a girl.
I know, I can plait and I just can't braid on other people's hair.
No.
Yeah. What do you know? What have you sat down and learnt lately?
I even sent our kids to
thank
school
you.
with
George
a
is
braid.
kicking me
Thank
out.
you.
See you,
Thank
mate.
you. Oh,
Pretty cool,
I
hey?
actually feel like that she
Now
did
I know
that
why you
far
love her,
too,
mate.
Yeah, far too easily.
Good at
Can you
twisting
do
things.
it, George?
Yeah.
A
Can you
Rubik's
do
Cube.
it?
Give them a real tweak.
Yeah.
No, I can't do the Rubik's Cube. I'm horrendous at it. She just showed off that she can do it in over a minute, and I just host a podcast. That's my special skill.
Well, you do it well.
You're a
You do it well.
broadcasting megastar.
We've got some reviews that we So, do you
Mid-episode
want me to go
reviews. They're my
first?
favourites.
Yep, I know. Well, because there's no formula here.
Okay. This one, you guys suck. Oh, you guys suck ass. Oh. That's from Hamish and Andy. Wow. In brackets, please don't use our surnames. Okay, yeah, no worries. Hamish and Andy, we don't know who you are because I haven't said your last names.
Okay.
Oh, this one's from the Imperfects podcast. They've written to us to say there's not enough crying in this on our podcast. Not enough use of the word journey.
We go through stages on this pod. We go full like psychic,
Yeah,
then
we
we go
do.
ghosts, then we go deep and meaningfuls, then we go light and bright and happy. It's
Yeah.
a roller coaster.
Well, that's funny you should
It
say
is.
that because here's one from P. Diddy. P. Diddy 01 has emailed in saying, hey, would you guys mind if I came down and hung with you guys for a little bit?
No. We're all right. We're okay, mate.
I think he's waiting for the storm to pass. I don't think that storm's ever going to pass, just quietly.
What the hell is going on there? We don't need to get into it.
Yeah.
That's
He'd be going down. Is what he's doing. Well, he's going down for going down.
that's
All I'll
weird.
say is, like, I've seen a video of him patting down a young Justin Bieber, like pat over his shirt to suss out if there's microphones, like if he's wired up before he goes into his house.
What? When did you see that footage? And what were you
TikTok
watching?
a couple of days ago. Yeah, I mean, look, it's everywhere. Like, all this footage is popping up on all the news sites, and there's
See?
footage of him
Lived with
doing that.
for a while when he was very young.
You were?
Lived with him for a while.
Oh my god! Do you know this TikTok just houses so many theories that get blocked elsewhere? Is that true?
Yeah.
Because I don't watch TikTok, but whenever I hear something really,
That's why the American government wants to. Well, I think they voted on it yesterday. I think they have. They've decided that they are going to block it. It got voted.
they're going to block TikTok. So that means then that Australia will follow suit because we don't really have any balls when it comes to making our own.
We're just a suburb of America.
Well, we want to be.
Moving on to something way more wholesome, there is a very
Okay.
special guest in our waiting room.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, how come that didn't come up on our computer?
Because George is hosting.
Shall we bring them in and say hello?
Yes,
They
we
being-
should.
Yep. Okay, good idea. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it is too.
Very special guest. We've got an exclusive, actually, by the way, before
It's a
the
pretty
rest
big
of the
deal.
media.
Because this person is a big deal.
Once he unmutes his camera
They're a
and
very
microphone.
big deal with a very slow internet connection.
That could be us.
Oh,
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
ladies and gentlemen, medium to the stars. It's the great Harry T.
Thank you for having me. Do you know what? I almost think I go through phases from being a small to a large, but I am a medium.
Oh, I love
How is
that.
everyone doing?
We're excited about your new book, my friend.
Oh my
you
gosh, me too.
are one of the most gracious and kind and supportive people on Instagram I've ever met and seen. I will be some weird person will come through my algorithm who I'm not following, yet I'll look down in the comments and there you are, wishing them well, saying how wonderful they are and how you're so proud of them and happy for whatever it is that they are achieving in that moment in their life. You are relentless and so loving on there for so many people.
Do you know what? To be honest with you, there's so much that is the opposite to that out there, which I think is why I probably try to make a conscious effort to be a good person, to be a nice person. And it's free. You know, it doesn't cost anything to do that. And it's funny how people actually notice that because I don't really think of it that it's, oh, you know, people are going to notice it. I just genuinely am nice to people.
You can tell. You can tell your words come from the right place, not for just, oh, I want to be seen in other people's comment sections. So
Definitely not. No, I'm far from that. You know what? It's actually funny. My friends always say to me, everyone who knows me in my personal life, I'm actually very under the radar. Like there are things that I do and I never share, but you know, but it's just like part of my life. So I think there are people who do things for a reason with an agenda. And yeah, my agenda is no agenda.
But that's so beautiful. And I know that you had a hell of a lot of trouble with impersonators and
Oh my God, I did.
fraud accounts. Like, why
Yes.
are they attacking you so much?
Do you know what? That is true. It's so funny you say that. Clearly you're psychic, Shezzy, because this morning there was a new one and it was very quick though. Instagram is very good now to delete them. At one point they weren't, but now they're good. Like you sort of see them, you report them and then they go. Whereas back in the day, like, you know, last year you'd report them and they'd stay there for like 3 months.
Yeah, they did.
That was difficult. I think, you know, people sort of chase something that might be popular at that time. And especially psychics who may have a bit of a following, I think they're easy targets because, you know, people who scam others think, you know what, they've got an audience, let's pretend to be them and we'll tap into that because at the end of the day, it's like a scam that they do. You know, people do that. You guys have probably had it too for different reasons, I'm sure. You know, people probably make accounts.
There's a lot of people who pretend to be Grant and pop up on dating sites. Remember we had the
selling Viagra,
So-
adult diapers,
Oh,
lots of fun stuff.
No,
Okay,
they weren't
see?
adult diapers. It wasn't Viagra. It was impotence nose spray.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I've
and there
never
was all
even
these-
heard of that.
there was all these fake comments from people after this fake news story saying, I'm after I saw the article, Grant, I bought it. I trust you.
Yeah.
It worked for me. I've never had a better sex life. And it just generated all this
That's why they do it, because they're using like Grant's name or brand to support that. And then, people fall for it. It's really sad that they do that. But anyway, say la vie, what can you do, right? Like it's
clearly Koshy uses it, because have you seen how swollen his nose is? It's enormous.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
We've got you on here, mate, because you are releasing a brand new book, and we're ahead of the curve. I know you haven't even started like the PR tour yet.
That's
right?
true. This is the first chat. Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff booked in for next week, but this was the first chat, and it was really funny how it happened. I sort of wanted it to be the first chat, and it did happen like that. Yeah, because Shezi, I know this is close, because the subject matter is really close to you, Shezi. So I felt like I wanted, everyone loves an exclusive. There are lots of exclusives in this book, by the way. And I felt like it would resonate. Yeah.
It's beautiful, because before we start talking about your book, I just wanted to say that last time we had you on, you mentioned that you could see my daughters putting their hands on my tummy. And I said to you that I had a sore spot, and you said, go and get it checked out. And I went and had it checked out, and I had a hernia, which they'd overlooked, and you picked it.
I picked it. Do you know, thank you for sharing that back with me, because obviously you say things to people and you don't know what goes on afterwards. That happens a lot with me. But there have been so many stories like that. I did an appearance once at the Mind Body Spirit Festival a couple of years ago. I had, a crowd of 500 people or whatever. And I said to someone something similar, but not the same. But I think it was to do with their back or their hip. I can't remember. And they were like, no, we just had a check and it was all fine. I'm like, I don't know. And then I said something. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was like a certain organ, or it was a certain ligament. It was like very specific. They went back, asked the doctor for that particular thing. And they came back the year after, and they were like, you won't believe this, but I went to the doctor, I told them exactly what you said, and they found out that was what I had.
Wow. Of course I believe this. I said it.
And my friend was in the audience who was there with me when we got told the story. And she was like, oh my gosh, I remember this. And I was thinking, wow, that's incredible, because it happens. Yeah, it happens. Do you want to know a story that's in the book?
Yes.
Do you want to know a story that's in the book?
Yes.
Okay, this is a story in the book which I actually just remembered when you said this. I did a reading for a lady once when I used to do in-person sessions. And I wrote down what I thought was the name Billy and Reuben, right? Like Billy I thought was a name, and Reuben I thought was a name, right? And it was together. And I'm like, Billy and Reuben. And she goes, no, I don't know any Billy and I don't know any Reuben. I said, that's interesting. I said, just write this down. It might come to you, later. Because I get names a lot. So I thought maybe that's what it was. This person went and told her friends about the reading. She's like, oh, it was great, but he said these names. I have no idea what it was. And her friend was a doctor. And they said, oh, that's interesting. Do you know Billy Reuben, like as in one word, it's a liver enzyme. Maybe, yes, listen to this. This was crazy. It's in the book. And she said, oh, that's interesting. And her doctor friend said, maybe you should get your liver tested. And they said, oh, I never thought of that. They ended up finding out they got this Billy Reuben thing done, and they had a huge issue with their liver. They came back and saw me a few months ago, and they're like, you won't believe this. And I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Wow. So you've got this real connection with medical, you don't even realize it. Like,
is that a strength for you, or is it just random?
It's more random, but I also think it's probably because I have so many issues myself. I think I'm more sensitive to it.
Interesting.
But it is true, because, when you do, like I have like autoimmune issues, and my health has been quite challenging. So I think when you are sensitive in a certain area, you're probably more sensitive towards others for it. For example, Shezi, you're a mum, right? And Grant, you're a dad. So naturally, as parents, you would be sensitive to children. You know what I mean? Like you'd have parental instincts. I think it's similar. So when you have an area in your life that is a strong focus, whether it's positive or negative, I think that's very highlighted. And for me, for some reason, health has always been a challenge. But but I try not to go too much into health, because obviously I'm not a doctor, but I have a pretty good success rate with it.
Well, Shezzy was debating whether she should bring it up. She's like, well, he won't remember saying it. I said, that doesn't matter. I think hearing the
it's
fact
good to
that
hear.
he said something to you and then it resonated and it ended up helping you out, he would, I'm sure, love hearing that there was a great outcome, even if he doesn't remember the story. Because you chat to so many people and you have so many, things that you discover about them you can't possibly remember. But we just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because that is 100% right. It's not that I can retain it, but when someone shares it with me, then it's almost like, then I know that I did my job. I'd like delivered what needed to be delivered, but also it sort of like refreshes my memory because I can't remember that. But yeah, it's nice to get that validation.
Do you need validation? Like, you've been doing this for so long and you've been so successful and you're just so in tune. Do you need validation each time you give a reading or each time you...
That's a really good question. I feel like validation is important for the recipient, like the person receiving a message or receiving information. But I also think it's nice for me to get. It's not necessarily to prove or validate or for accolade. I just think it's good to know that you did your thing. It's like you do it to help someone. I think it's nice to get that. And
can your confidence sort of come and go like it does with the rest of us, whether it be in our personal or professional lives? Like, when you are really in tune and you're confident and you're hearing that whatever you are telling people ends up being true, does that kind of empower you to believe these feelings even stronger? Can you waver in confidence?
I don't think so for me. And the reason for that is because that would come from an ego perspective. And we all have ego. We expand and we contract. And I think ego is important to survive in the world. But when I tap into this ability, like I have to sort of switch it on and I get into a zone, and that's all in the book. I explain the whole process. It comes from my higher self, which is not my ego. So I think if it was something I was conscious of, like, oh, I'm feeling good about this and, I'm really confident, I think that's tapping into ego, which actually psychic abilities should not come from. Because sometimes you see psychics and they're good, but they have very big egos. They have very big egos. And then that sort of takes over. That's not a good sign, because then they're not doing it for the right reason. And, at the end of the day, everything in life is neutral. A match can burn a house down, but it can also light a candle. So, it's how you use it. So I think that's important. So I try to avoid, being overly confident and all of that stuff with my work, because at the end of the day, I've done this for 20 years, but every person is like the first, so whenever you deal with someone's life, that's a big responsibility.
That's such a good point. So I guess because I'm still practicing and still learning,
I know,
not having done it for 20 years. When somebody validates that I kind of got something, my facial expression goes to absolute shock and like, oh my God.
But that's good. That's good. That's good, because if you watch clips of me, like I've got some live stage shows with like theatre shows on YouTube, but I forget that are on there, but they are on there. And I have that reaction, like, oh my gosh, I was like, you get blown away by yourself. But that's a good sign. Because if you were coming from an ego perspective, you were like, well, of course I'm right, right? Yeah. Like, why would I be shocked?
Yes.
So this book, Feet on the Ground, Fingertips in Heaven, is the title.
I love the title.
Can we just talk about the foreword for just a second?
Yes. Larry King. Larry King wrote the foreword.
The Larry King, America's greatest interviewer, is your foreword.
Yeah. So this book, I know it's yeah. So
I love it. Parents just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So let me tell you how it all began. So Feet on the Ground, Fingertips in Heaven, Spiritual Reflections on Life and Beyond. That's a little subheading because it's a good summary of what the book is really about. It sort of began as an idea in Larry's kitchen in 2018. So this was January 2018. And Larry King and Sean King, they're friends of mine. Well, Larry King's now passed away, which obviously the whole world knows, but that's why this is even more special that this has come out and we use his forward, because we were in his kitchen chatting away and, I was doing a lot of work in Los Angeles and Larry was like, all these psychics have books, you need to have a book. And I was kind of like, yeah, I should. I'll write one. And it was literally in his kitchen. And he was like, I'll write the foreword. So he actually suggested it. So that's how it actually happened. And so I wrote the book. I was writing it in 2018 and it was really ready to come out in probably 2020, if I'm being honest. But obviously, COVID stopped the world, as we know. So I sort of thought I'll take a step back. And instead of releasing the book, I released a deck of cards instead, because I just felt like everyone was at home. It was something to give someone a little bit, a little bit more, to do, I suppose. And then obviously I had to revisit the book, and I was going to release it the year he passed away, and then he passed away, and it was just like this whole thing. And then I was really debating, what do I do? Because he wrote the foreword to it. Do I still keep it? Do I not? And then Sean, who wrote a note in the book, basically saying like, we had to keep the foreword, it was important to Larry as well. So I decided to keep it because it's even more special in a way that now he's gone. Because the subject matter of my book deals with so much about life after death. And Larry King, who in the foreword writes it, I'm pretty sure, because he was a skeptic. I'm just sort of having a look at the foreword by Larry King. He was sort of scared of death. And I remember that after I gave him a reading, he said that it was because of me he no longer really feared it, which was a huge thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a huge thing for me. So I kind of thought, okay, well, it makes more sense to keep it.
What did you say to him because he was as old as Jesus? What did you say to him that softened him in terms of the end of life?
Yeah, that's a good question, Grant. Because he was he was someone who obviously was older, but he was more out than I was. Like he would be somewhere, 10 minutes before he had to be there. He would always have his, bagel catch-ups, and he was very outgoing still. So he was still with it. But he had always feared death because he would say he was an agnostic. Like he didn't really believe in a God or an afterlife, and he had lost so many people. And I remember when I gave him a reading, at the start, he was very skeptical. He was like, oh, this is so whatever, But he was an interviewer, so he sort of was curious about me. And I said so many things to him, nobody knew. Like, nobody knew. And, like, I named things. And I remember he even said, the only way to possibly know this is if he had written an unknown autobiography with this stuff that he had never done. So that was, it alleviated the fear of death for him because he knew there must be something after this. I don't think necessarily I changed his belief system of spirituality, but I definitely did help him know that there is something more to this life.
You gave him comfort.
Yeah, well, I think, you know what, there's a quote that he wrote in here. He said, what he has given me, a skeptic, is a greater hope that there is something after this. So that's that was a big thing. So obviously, we decided to keep the foreword, and which is very special because the subject matter deals with so much, about life after death. And Grant and Shezzy, your copies are on the way, which is amazing.
Yay.
And I hope you really enjoy it. And so it's an honor to have his foreword because he was a part of the book. He began, it was the whole idea started in his kitchen.
Do you still feel him around you? Like throughout this process, have you felt him?
Only when I speak to Sean. So only when I'm on the phone to Sean do I really sort of feel him, to be honest. Because it's not like he really just hangs out in Melbourne. So So I feel like, whenever there's a connection, and Shezzy, you'll probably understand this, when there's a link to someone, so for example, Sean was his wife, who's a very close friend of mine, sometimes you establish a link through the connection. So I remember, actually, this is a story that I've never really told, and I feel like it's okay to say. Before he passed away, I was on the phone to Sean. I was on the phone. And I remember my ex-partner at the time, this was like all hours. I can't remember, it was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I remember my ex-partner saying to me, what are you doing? And I said, I've got to wake up and call Sean. And he goes, are you serious? I said, yes. And obviously Los Angeles was a different time zone. And I called Sean and she said, Harry. I said, what? She said, Larry just took his last breath. Like that second, like before anyone else knew. I think I was like the third person to know in the world. Because, I called it. But I just had this feeling that I had to call Sean. So I think that's an example. And he used to say, if I die and when I come back, I'm going to come back to Sean through you. He literally did within like seconds. It was wild. Yeah.
And were you able to offer messages of comfort or what
well,
kind
I think I did, but I think I was in so much shock to hear that, I called within 60 seconds of his last breath. And for us, it was more like, well, he did say, if it comes through to her, it will be through me. He did say that. But ironically, it did happen. Like within 60 seconds.
I'd be meeting the big fella upstairs first. I'd get to the pearly gates. I'd wait for them to open. Of course, I'd be invited in because, hello, I'm Grant Denyer. But you go in there, and I'd go, all right, how does all this work? Come on, tell me. And I'd kind of
Sometimes, Grant, they're scared to do that, though. I think sometimes a lot of them are scared to do that because you never know what the big fella's going to say to them. So
that's true.
I think sometimes we'll stick with what we know, what's safe.
Larry
King wrote the forward.
I love that. And also Sarah, Duchess of York,
Yes.
just slipped her name in on the front
On the cover.
page.
Yeah. So Sarah, obviously I can't talk too much about that, but I can say I'm very grateful to the Duchess for offering a word of testimony that I was able to use for the book. That was also very, very gracious.
Yeah.
Harry, you're just amazing. You
Oh,
are just
bless
so
Hey, sunshine.
you are.
You're sunshine.
You're just like, hey, I'm just like plodding along, little Harry from Melbourne. It's like, just hanging out with Larry King and Natalie Imbruglia. Like
she wrote the introduction. Yeah, she wrote the introduction, which was also beautiful. Because when I was writing the book, Nat's one of my best friends, and she knew a lot about the book and she loved it. And we sort of, in conversation, said, oh, maybe you should write the introduction, because I was struggling writing the introduction because I'd written the whole book and then I needed to write an intro to it. But writing an intro to your own stuff can be a little bit daunting when you try to go under the radar. Like, it just sounds weird, like trying to prop yourself up. So she was like, I'll do it. And she did it. It was one hit. There was no edit. She literally wrote it. We sent it off to the publishers, and as she sent it, it was the original draft. Like, it was beautiful. It was very heartfelt.
I noticed that the first page of Natalie Imbruglia's writing was torn.
Was it? In the book. That is hilarious. I was about to say, hold on, George, do you have your copy already? I was going to say, your copy already.
Just doing bangers on a podcast.
That is funny.
Dropping good gear, buddy.
Harry
That is
T,
funny.
we were talking before we all jumped onto the podcast about a particular segment that we actually have on this show now called Two Truths and a Lie. And you were like, oh my God, that is so funny. I've got this as a thing in my book. Would you like to explain that before we actually get in and play the game?
I do. Hold on. Let me open up the page because it's okay. Hold on 1 second. Because it is in my. That was wild that this was in my book. So basically, my book, which I should also say, is all about how to tap into your intuition, and it's all about the journey of life and my reflections on life and the afterlife. And there's a lot of anecdotes that I share in it, and it's also a how-to. So I feel like it's a good reference book for people that they can refer to again and again. So I think it's definitely something you can pick up more than once because you can refer back to it. And you can apply things. So, for example, there's something called claircognizance, which is the ability to know things. So that's how some people get things. So some people get things through visions, through words, through feelings, or through their thoughts. Claircognizance, which is through their thoughts, that is a very strong sense to sort of better. And in the book, I said, you can invite your friends over for a 2 lies and 1 truth party where everyone tells the group 3 statements, 2 false and 1 true. This is a fun game which can also really increase your claircognizance and help you learn how to decipher when someone is lying. Isn't that wild? That is in my book.
We came up with. This is the first week we're doing it, and now it's in your book. That
is in my book. That is in my book. So when George told me that, I said, that is wild.
I couldn't believe it.
That is actually in my book. And it was something when I was writing this, I was thinking, well, how can you help people develop that sense? Well, that's a good way. Because sometimes when things come as an instant knowing, that's your intuition. So this game is actually very, very relevant.
Do you have something ready for GD, Shezzy, and I to try and decipher?
Okay, of course. Oh gosh, this is going to really. Okay, let's see. Okay, ready?
Okay.
So
we've got an opener for it.
Hold on one second.
This is the most important part, the opener. Yeah,
Two truths and a lie. Two truths and a lie. Two truths and a lie. Two truths and a lie.
Is that the opener to that Charlie Sheen? So 2.5 Men.
Men. But 2 truths and a lie.
Oh
That
my
is
God.
hilarious. That could go in so many ways. Okay, so should I go two truths and a lie now?
Yes.
Please do.
All right, ready? All right, two of these are true, one of these are a lie. All right. A, I can't swim. B, English is my third language. C, I love seafood. So A, I can't swim. B, English is my third language. Or C, I love seafood.
Well, I'm going to say.
I'm hopeless at this game.
Well, hang on, you should be able to tap into your. This is supposed
No,
to
but
be
maybe-
Perfect for you, Shazzy. This
I
is
can't.
But maybe
designed
her
for you.
claircognizance, isn't her strength, because in the book, before you get to that game, you get a quiz of how to test what your strength is intuitively. Some people are more
Right.
visual, some people are more auditory, some people are more cognitive, some people are more kinesthetic. So sometimes you might not be good at that game, even if you're really psychic.
I just get really confused because
Okay.
last week I picked
One has to be a
and
lie.
then
One
One's
has
a
to be a
lie.
lie. So
Right.
again, so the two
Your
truths and one
lie.
my lie
so
is
that's the better way to do it. Thank you.
my lie is it that I can't swim, or that English is my third language, or that I love seafood?
It's between seafood and swimming, and
No, the
I'm
lie is seafood.
yeah. I'm going to say seafood.
Correct. You guys are right. You did it. You did it. You see?
I'm changing my name to Claire Cognizance now.
Cognizant.
Yeah.
See? Very good. Very good.
Oh,
I do not like seafood.
Oh my God, Harry. Either do I.
Gee.
Well, there you go. High five. High
Yes.
five. Yep.
And
there
I
you
wondered
go.
if maybe that was because I had some kind of Piscean.
Oh.
Oh, maybe you are fish, so you can't eat fish. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Maybe.
maybe you've got a little bit of a mermaid vibe going on. So maybe there
I?
could be a little bit.
Oh.
Kind of like
Well,
that.
I'm a Virgo, but not a virgin, so it is possible.
I've heard of miracles, but but there you go. So yeah, so the book. So I hope you guys like it, because obviously yours is on the way, and everyone who's listening, I think they'll take away a lot from it, because
Yeah.
it's definitely something that you can refer back to, and like this, it can be fun as well. Because
Yeah.
you can learn more about intuition in not sort of like a morbid way. In saying that, though, I do share stories that I've never shared before publicly in here, which are personal stories, which sort of highlight the duality of life, the good side and also the bad side, which I think is very important. And Shezi, I think this will really help you, because not many mediums or psychics like to talk about that, because they tend to sort of prefer to be all very love and light and very, rainbows and crystals, which is obviously all fabulous. But there is a dark side to the world as well. And I think that's important to know about, and not many people speak about it. So I write about that quite extensively, just to sort of, educate people on the duality, because we live in a world of polarity. There's hot and cold, there's wet and dry, there's soft and hard, it's also light and dark. So I think
your book will be a great gift as well for a lot of mums for Mother's Day, because
Absolutely.
there's a lot of mums who have reached out since I started sharing little bits, and they're like, oh, you know what? When I was a child, I think I had intuition. How do I tap back into that? And you're giving them the key.
Yeah, the fact you said it's a how-to guide is really intriguing.
Yeah, there's a how-to in it. There's a lot of tools in here and exercises that they can apply. And so it's like a spiritual education, but it's also a reference tool, because, it's something that they can refer back to and learn more about their own intuition. And I think that's important, because everyone has it. It's just obviously to different degrees. Do you know what is so wild already? I mean, it's only been out for one day at the time of us recording this podcast. It's already number 7 in the spirituality category on Booktopia.
Watch that.
Wow.
It's going all right at the top, baby.
Oh
Outright.
How amazing is that? Yeah, because it's
incredible.
obviously the category is spirituality. That's what the book is. And I had a look at it just before I came on, and I just sort of looked at, spirituality category, and my book was number 7. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
That is so cool.
Congrats.
I haven't even spoken about it really.
Are you proud of yourself? Do you sit back and think this is a huge achievement, because it is hard work writing a book?
It is really hard work. I have to say, as much as I don't like being proud of myself, because, you know, pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, which is in the book. But I do feel proud of myself because, you know, I did it all. You know, a lot of authors hire ghostwriters to write their books because they just don't have the time. You know, it's not because they don't want to do it. They just don't have the time.
Ghostwriter is a funny title for considering what you you
Well,
have a lot of ghosts to call on.
Grant, I use real ghosts. So
Who should I get? William Shakespeare to write mine?
Yeah. For me, I didn't hire a ghostwriter. I just used the real ones.
Yeah.
But
Hey, did you say you were atheist before? No, I can't remember.
No, I'm not. No, Larry was an agnostic. So I'm sort of a universalist. I think actually after rereading my book, didn't realize I'm probably more Christian than I realized, but I think it's because I was born that way. You know, I was born, I'm of Armenian and Lebanese descent, and Christianity was sort of like,
languages
in my family. 3 languages. Yeah, English was my 3rd language. I had to learn it for school, obviously. But isn't that funny? Yeah, that was the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think, yeah.
Because the reason why I ask is because obviously when people, you know, turn to someone like you, where obviously we're searching for something, we need an answer to something, we need some help with something, maybe we need some skills turned on or some answers or whatever, connected with some loved ones that have lost, receive some messages, whatever the purpose. So we always assume that you are always connecting with a positive energy because you're bringing great resolution to people's lives, giving them the answers they're always looking for. But you're right. The world is polarity. There are for every light there is dark.
Correct.
So do you experience that as well? Do they have as much access to you, the negative entities, as much as the positives? And what are those negative entities?
That is such a great question because it's in the book. It's in the book. It's in the book. Because yes, you can. Because it's almost like in the ocean. Let's use, we were talking about fish before, so let's use the ocean as an example, as an analogy. In the ocean, you've got beautiful fish, you've got, you know, lots of great things, you've got the seal, you've got dolphins, but you also have sharks, you know. So in the same pool of water, you're going to experience a different, vibration, different sorts of energies, different, you know, good and bad, scary and nice things. That's the same thing with disability, because material world and spiritual world are actually, they can mirror one another. So to a degree, to have an angel, which everyone believes in, most people believe in angels, there must be some counterfeit, because how can you have an angel without having necessarily a demon? You can't, because how would you recognize and decipher what an angel would be? It's like happiness and sadness. How can you know what is happy if you don't know what is sad?
You need the opposite for it to be true. Yeah.
You must have that. So a lot of psychics can tap into, that's why this is so important, this book, because it highlights things that not many psychics and mediums talk about. Because sometimes you'll see a psychic on television and they'll be doing a reading or they'll be getting information and they could be accurate, but it's not necessarily coming from a good source, because, you know, it's like using a Ouija board, right? You want to stay away from them. You know, I wrote about an experience that I had where, you know, when I was a child, I did use a Ouija board and they do work, but they're not good because they open a door. They might tell you 9 things that are true, but the 10th thing that they tell you might be like, you know, go and do this terrible thing. You know, so it's almost like a manipulative thing. And I think that's what the dark side, which is, I think, the chapter of that part, where I talk about, you know, the polarity and all of that, it does do that. It plays with your energy to, I suppose, do bad.
How do you protect yourself from nefarious energy or entities that have some ulterior motives?
That's important. You must protect yourself. There's a chapter in here. It's like you've read the book. Have you read the book before it went out?
I will when it bloody counts.
You will when it arrives. I'm just thinking, Shezzy, he's talking about the book and I'm loving this. So there's a chapter called Tools of Protection, which talks about all about how to protect your energy and your vibe, really. That's very important. In life in general, like I think you should protect yourself every day in general, like putting yourself, you know, in a light, you know, surrounding yourself with, there's one that I use a lot, that's the lead shield, that's in the book. You know, doing all of those protection things, like visualizing it, they're very important to do daily. But when you do this work, Shezzy, it's more important to protect yourself. So making sure your chakras are balanced, protecting your energy, because what happens is, although the bad stuff is always around, it's not like it disappears, but you just don't access it. It's like you create a shield and that can't penetrate your force field. Whereas if you sort of don't protect yourself, anything can go in, right? It's like you can open the door to anything. So you've got to
It's
really
so funny.
protect yourself.
Oh, it's so funny that you say that, because when I put up a post, I don't know, talking about my course, and then I had an exam coming up, and I just put some details up on social media. I had so many messages from people saying, make sure you protect yourself, make sure you're bringing bad spirits into the house, you're allowing all this access, blah, blah, blah. And I was shocked, because part of the school, like part of the lessons that I've gone to, you always have to do, a bit of a close off at the end, and still playing around with boundaries and etc. But there was so much negativity and fear from that I read in these messages, which I'd not experienced
or
that before.
contemplated, yeah.
But do you know that's good though? Do you know that's good? Because it highlights it for you. Because if you're thinking about it, if you haven't thought about that before, I think it's good that it's come to your attention, because there's an element of truth to it. Because like I said, again, a lot of people in the spiritual movement don't like talking about it, because it's like the cigarette packets. They have warning signs on it, right? Like warning labels on the cigarette packets. This work sort of does need to have that, and that's why in the book, especially with mediumship, which I know that you're really venturing into, Shezi, with great success, that's very important to not only have boundaries, but to protect your energy and to sort of know. It's education, it's knowledge. That's very powerful. When you know that the dark side exists, and I actually, in my book, do use the words, God. I use God a lot because obviously, I come from a Christian background. But people can replace that with universe or whatever they want to resonate with, a higher power, whatever. But it's almost like, the devil as well. So you've got to really be aware of both sides. It's very important, especially when you do mediumship. I think it's really important to know the difference and to know that it's out there, and just protect yourself. I think you're going to really love this book.
I am.
It
I'm
sounds
buzzing
like
to read it.
I remember you telling me a while back, we're discussing whether I should go racing again, and you said yes, and you said just visualize this, put yourself in the car when you're in the car, imagine a golden glow around you of protection, and then pray to your guardian angels to look after you, and you will be fine. And I do that every time I jump in the car now. Anytime I do anything dangerous, if I'm spending the day on the motorbike, just riding through the bush or whatever, I'll do that. I'll wrap myself in the light, and I'll ask
Good on you, Grant.
for protection. And
Coming home to me.
I do all protect the world.
Good
There's
on
not
you,
enough
Grant,
bloody guardian angels to protect me from Shezi.
But it's funny you say that again. I write in the book that, we need all the help we can get. So it's almost like, call upon all these helpers, because sometimes some people will say, sort of like on the note that you brought up, Shezi, about, the dark side and all of that, which I speak about in depth in this book. I think it's also, we need all the help we can get. So, yes, definitely, God and foremost, he's the creator of the created, the higher power, supreme being, whatever you want to call it. There's definitely a higher energy. There's no doubt about it, right? Like, Grant, you said the big fella, whatever you want to say, there is definitely a creator of the created. And I think that's first and foremost. But then, we have all these helpers. We have angels, we have guides, we have, the ascended masters, all of those, spirit helpers around us to help us. We need all the help we can get.
Before we let you go, Harry, because I know that we've gone way over time, do you have any fear of dying since you've done this work?
No, I don't. That's a really good question. I don't. And I think at one point I did. I did have a time in my life when I was sort of questioning my own faith and questioning my own spirituality, because I went through some things. But I don't. And I want to say why. When I was 14, my mother passed away. Again, this is in the book, and I don't know if I've ever shared this publicly until the book. So again, you guys are getting a lot of exclusives, which I love. When my mother passed away, she was 37, which is not much older than I am now, which is almost like scary to think. But when she passed away, the night before she passed, she said she could feel her spirit leaving her body. And that was a huge thing to say, obviously, right? Like, she said she could feel her spirit leaving her body. This was before she passed away. And the night she passed, I remember vividly, and I tell this story, that my mum came into my room, kissed me, and lifted my blankets, but she had died. She had passed away. So it was her spirit that had done that, because when I woke up, we were told, Mum passed away during the night. And I was like, that's impossible. She came to visit me during the night, I think it was around 4:30 in the morning, something like that. And she lifted the blanket. I spoke to her and they were like, no, she passed away before that. And before she passed, she said she felt her spirit leaving her body. So I think since then, I didn't fear death because I knew, well, my mum said her spirit was leaving her body. So there's something to it, right? You go somewhere. So in a way you don't, and that experience that I had with her spirit, that was quite profound because it showed me, well, death in many ways is an illusion, because although the physical body does die, the soul can't die for the life of you, it can't die. So that's when it sort of changed. Oh my gosh, and someone's calling my thing. There you go.
Oh, I'm crying.
That is amazing. And if you've ever seen...
Can you guys give me 1 second?
Yes.
Give me 1 second. Okay, 1 second.
Hello. All these books for signing.
Sorry, guys. That's my books have just arrived.
That's what we thought they might have been.
My books have just arrived.
That's really beautiful. Oh my God.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just to close off now, and we'll let you go to sign all those books to the lucky people who are going to receive them and purchase
My books
them.
have arrived.
Go out and get it now. It's called Feet on the Ground, Fingertips in Heaven by Harry T. If you have seen a loved one pass, I don't know if everyone else feels the same, but you can, I could tell the soul had left. Even though you look at them before they've passed and then when they have passed, the body's the same. You still should look at them and should feel the same, but I can tell there's no longer a soul there. It's just... Absolutely. It's just a body.
It's just a body, because the soul does leave the body and it is different. You can see the difference.
Yeah.
And, often you can also notice that they're quite serene as well, like the body. Like you can see that the body's like at peace when they might not have been for so long. I think that's a good example as well, because you can definitely see a big difference.
Yeah, I can. Well, fascinating chat as always, mate.
Thank you so much. I adore the two of you. Feet on the Ground, Fingertips in Heaven. Get it on Booktopia. It's definitely a book that everyone should read.
Done. I'm going to get
We love you, buddy.
Yours is coming.
Get to the top of those bestseller charts. We can't wait. It's only going to take days. We know it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for giving us a moment of your time, mate. All the best.
Thank you. I love the two of you. Thank you so much. And you too, George. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
See you, buddy.
Thank you. Bye.
Wow. Pretty incredible. Can we just take a moment just to also reflect on George's opener? Amazing. Oh, you there, buddy? We can't hear you.
I'm here. Hello, you got me.
Oh.
It always helps when you have your microphone. Yeah, I turned it off. I didn't need to talk during that chat.
What a pro.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a great opener and great gear with Natalie Imbruglia torn.
My mind was, you were both clearly racing to a gag, and I'm like, do I drop it? And yours is better than mine. Well done.
Do you know what? I was slightly distracted when he was talking about Larry King, because did anybody see the shadow to his right side?
Nope, I did not.
Yeah. No. I was hearing a conversation with somebody who was on his right side, which I didn't want to interrupt and tell him. But
was it the great Laz?
I don't know.
He's got one of the greatest.
I need to keep doing my course because I don't know, but it was definitely yeah. Wow. Incredible.
Great episode.
Great episode.
Good to have you back, GD.
Good to be back.
Potting with
Grant, you're next on It's All True. I mean, Two Truths. I can't.
Two Truths and a Lie.
Two truths and a lie. Two truths and a lie. Two truths and a lie. Two truths and a lie.
I can't believe that was in his book.
This week, 2.5 Men.
That's so crazy. All right. Okay, I need to...
Be true, guys.
Be true.
Be true.
Enjoy.
Be true.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.
It's All True, the podcast with Grant and Shezzy Denya.
Bye bye. See you next time.